Hi, I'm Azalea from Azalea's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make chocolate cake, this chocolate cake, with chocolate and caramel icing. First, we're going to start with the icing because it takes time to cool down. We start with the caramel. We need to melt it. Caramel, I've bought it ready-made in this tin and it's quite thick, so it needs to melt down first. Once it's melted down, in the microwave for 1.5 minutes, I add the butter and chocolate. So we're going to first of all melt this. Right, I'm going to show you, I've had it in the microwave for 1 minute. Not quite ready, it's almost melting, but the middle is not. I'm going to show you why it's not. Because it's still a little bit stiff, so I really want it to be bubbling away. And the reason is that if it's melted better, you get a finer texture in the icing at the end, which is why we melt the caramel first. We don't melt everything together. I've tried melting everything together and I've found you get a coarser finish on the icing. So this way round, I prefer it. It looks better. Back in the microwave for 30 seconds. It's had the extra 30 seconds and you can see it's more liquidy form, and that's what you're looking for. And now it's time to add the butter. I've cut the butter into small cubes, it just makes it quicker to melt. That, and also you can add the chocolate at the same time. And now it goes back into the microwave for 1 more minute. Most of the butter has melted and that will help finish melting the chocolate if it hasn't melted completely. Stir it around and eventually it will come together. It's a good idea to have a large bowl when you're making this. That way it won't have any spillages when you're melting the caramel in the microwave. There we are. That's it. The icing is now complete. I'm going to transfer the chocolate and caramel icing, into a clean bowl, and the reason is it helps with the cooling down, because this bowl, which you use to melt the caramel and chocolate and butter, will be hot and maintain hot for quite a while, and transferring it to another bowl just helps it that little bit more with the cooling down. Right, so now we cover this up and we'll place it in the fridge for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we stir to make sure that the cold that it has gathered around the outside of the bowl gets distributed into the middle, and it helps to, again to cool it down quicker. Now to make the cake, it follows the simple method of all-in-one, where you put everything in the bowl, whisk it up until it's a batter. I've just left out the yogurt until the very last thing, so I'm going to show you. Start off with butter at room temperature. It's really annoying if you forget to leave the butter out, or if you live in a place where there's no heating in the kitchen and your butter never gets to the soft stage. And the soft stage is when you put a spoon or a spatula through and it yields underneath it, like that. It's spreadable. If the butter's hard, I forgot to bring out of the fridge in time. The way I have discovered to speed up the process of softening it is to cut into little cubes, put it in a bowl, in the microwave, but watch it, because if it goes past the point where it's melting too much liquid, turns liquid inside, then you don't get the nice whisking action that you want for the cake. So what I do is put it in for 10 seconds at a time, bring it out, and then test it that it's soft, and if it's not, another 5 seconds, and I work out on those bases 5 seconds at a time until it is soft enough for me to use it with electric whisk. Okay, so I'm now going to add all the ingredients bar the yogurt. So I added the sugar, eggs, baking powder, vanilla. I'm going to sift the flour in. I always sift the flour in, it's a good habit to have. I know it doesn't appear as if it will make much difference, but as you're sifting, you're creating some little air pockets. And next, sifting the cocoa powder. I would definitely advise sifting the cocoa powder. It tends to stick together otherwise into little tiny sort of nobules, I suppose. There we are. Now I'm going to whisk it about a minute. It should do with electric whisk. If you're doing a stand mix as well, a minute, minute and a half. Now here we go. Now adding the yogurt. Twist it in. Scrape from the sides. Make sure that everything has been whisked and blended properly. And the batter should be this consistency. Okay. I've prepared 2 sandwich tins. They're shallow. They are 20 centimetres, which is 8 inches, and I've just lined them with some paper. The reason is that when you turn out, it comes off beautifully. I use ready-made cut ones, makes my life much easier, and I spray a little bit of fat underneath to make sure that the paper stays in place, so when you're putting the batter in, it doesn't move around in the tin. So we divide the batter between the 2, and I know that this seems a little bit anal perhaps, but I actually weigh the batter. That way I know that they're equal. I'm now going to put these in the oven to bake, preheated oven. They won't take longer than about 20 minutes. Try not to overbake them because you just get a drier texture. So after about 20 minutes, test it. It should be ready or thereabouts unless your oven is particularly out. Right, these have been in the oven, they're baked. I actually baked them 1 minute before the timer went off. I opened the door and I saw that around the edges they were coming away. So I didn't really even need to put the cocktail stick in the middle to know that they were ready. I'm going to turn them out. They've had 5 minutes in the tin. So I'm going to use a spatula to go around the tin just to loosen them, make sure they won't get stuck. I'll turn them out on both of them. So there we are. Now, and I'm now going to show you what the icing has been doing in the fridge. Now it's been in the fridge for about 45 minutes and you'll see how it's starting to stiffen around the edges where it's coldest, but in the middle it's still soft. So if I do this, you see, there you go, how liquid it is. It's important now if you give it a stir, and that helps to speed up the cooling. Like that. Now back into the fridge for another 45 minutes to an hour. Right, so we've had the icing cooling for the second time in the fridge and it's had 40-45 minutes, and I tested it, and the way you do it is by basically going into the middle, and it's solid but soft, so it's spreadable consistency, and that's the way you want it be able to spread it on the cake. If for any reason you forgot about it and it goes very solid, and that's because the butter in it and the cocoa fat will go solid in the fridge, then in that case bring it out, leave it at room temperature for an hour and a half, and it will soften again to this consistency, like that, which means that then you can use it to spread it. So preparing the stand for the cake, all I've done is cut a square into triangles, 2 squares into triangles, put it on the stand and pick the bottom part of the cake. I've turned it, I left the flat side up, like so, and now we can start putting the chocolate icing and sandwich the cakes. So here we go. Really gooey. Now you can see what lovely consistency it is if you look close up. I've used about a third-ish kind of thing for the filling part, and then this second sponge on top, and now it's just a matter of covering it as best as you can. It's easier if you start with icing the top and then move it towards the side for quite a lot of the icing, and then once you've got a sort of big wedge of icing on there, just use it to go around and smooth the side as much as you can, like that. So you've got a fairly nice smooth side, and then the way I like to finish the top is by just using the edge of the palette knife by making a little swirly pattern, like so. And you can turn it around the other way, and it just helps distribute evenly on the top layer, like that. Hang on, just making a little bit more. And then one more time going around the edge. There we are.